How do you systematically get 5-star reviews and testimonials? And how do you use them to generate more sales? We'll be discussing that with Simon Aronowitz, the testimonial guru, on episode 17 of the Pete Primeau Show. This show is brought to you by my free Facebook group, Pete Primeau Sales and Marketing. Find out more at peteprimeau.com. This week's guest is my good friend, Simon Aronowitz, the testimonial guru, also the founder of Get Super Serial, who actually produces my show. Been trying to talk Simon into doing this for a while, and I'm so glad that he joined me. Good morning, Simon. How are you?
Morning, Pete. I should correct co-founder of Get Super Serial. There's someone else pushing the buttons this morning. Shout out to Billy, who's behind the scenes taking care of this recording. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Billy. You're very welcome. So, gosh, I'm trying to think of when we met. We met a long, long time ago. 10 years ago, maybe?
We met in person after we were introduced via a mutual connection at what was then Glazer Kennedy. I believe you reached out and spoke to, I think it was Nick Loyes, or it could have been Ron Pensker, and said, I need some help with some testimonials. And they said, you need to speak to Simon. So we connected on the phone first before we met, I think meeting in person in 2013 in Orlando. So we've known each other for a good few years.
Yeah. And that was actually a great conference for me. I met you, we hooked up, and we did some work together, and that struck up a friendship. And you introduced me to Jeff Chinakovo. That's the first time I met Jeff.
I mean, it was really simple for me, Pete. And I mean, I was put in touch with you, and I found out that you were this big player regionally and to some extent nationally in the mattress and furniture business. You knew everything about mattresses from both sides of the industry. And I'd always known about Jeff since my first time with Glazer Kennedy, is one of these shining examples of a retailer who knows what they're doing. And by the way, he has a furniture and mattress store business. So I'm like, well, Jeff does mattresses and furniture, and Pete does mattresses and furniture. You guys would probably get on here. Jeff, Pete, Jeff, the two of you should just talk to each other. And that was, I think it was like, I just want to make sure, Pete, that you and Jeff are connected. Have you, okay, I'll see you later. And that was it at the conference, and I left you to it. And 7.5 years later, you guys are communicating very regularly about what's going on.
We're two peas in a pod. Our joke is we're brothers from another mother. So, and Jeff also, thank you for that, by the way.
And Jeff also has rep experience, so you both have that experience from both sides of the aisle. But now, you pound pavement as much as COVID allows you to, and Jeff is full-time retailing. But there's still that interest, when the two of what you're doing overlap, and you start to ask each other about, well, what was your experience before you moved over to the other side? And it's like two ships passing in the night, going from one direction to the other, but you kind of meet up in the middle and exchange your experiences. And it's valuable for really anybody in the industry. Every time you guys get together and talk, there's a lot of value there for not just people in mattresses and furniture, but retail, period. And pay attention to what Jeff is doing.
Yeah. In my first 9 years in the industry, I wasn't a rep. I was a salesman on the floor, and I was a store manager, and I was a sales trainer for the chain of retail stores that I worked for. So we've both overlapped at different times, and he is my go-to guy. If I'm in a sticky situation, I don't know which way to turn, I'm calling Jeff Chinakovo. One of the smartest guys in the industry, has great perspective always, and wise beyond his years. So listen, Simon, I want to deliver on the promise that we made to the listeners, but it's really important. I'm going to make a statement, and maybe it'll sound a little controversial, but I'm going to say this to you. If you're a store owner or you're a salesman and you're thinking about salesperson, you should get testimonials Yes, I agree. You should. But not all testimonials are good testimonials. And I'm going to say that again. Not all testimonials are good testimonials. You need to understand what a good testimonial is and what a bad testimonial is. And I can hear somebody out there saying in cricket land that no, there's no such thing as a bad testimonial. Well, there is. And I want to, I'm thinking of the Robert Collier quote about entering the conversation in the customer's mind. And I want you to talk about relevancy, because this is, you were the testimonial guru before you even thought of being the co-founder of Get Super Cereal, which, by the way, I'm very thankful for. But can you address that a little bit in detail, Simon? Because you were the first one that said that to me, and I was like, what is this guy got two heads? He's nuts.
Okay, what is the most common testimonial that a business will get if they get them? And it's probably, these guys do a great job, you should hire them. And it's nice if you get one of those. It's nicer if you have 100 of those, or it's great if you've got 500 of those. But they really don't say anything about what you did or the difference that you made for your customer. And more importantly, how you're different from anybody else in the same market as you, who says they're doing the same thing, but you're actually different. The testimonials that say they did a great job, you should hire them, don't explain why you're better than everybody else. And it does actually get back to what you're talking, Pete, about entering the conversation in your potential customer's mind, that what they're going through at the time is not, I just need a solution. They're going through the pain, and there's the dialogue of the pain that they have, whether it's the problem that they need to solve or how it's affecting them. And how it's affecting them is much more powerful than the problem that they need to solve. Excuse me. I mean, when I spent time with you a few years ago, we heard from one store that was able to sell their customer into a king-size bed where they didn't think they had the room. And the reason it was so important for the wife in this couple to get the king-size bed was because she was crying herself to sleep every night. She didn't have any room in the bed. Do you remember this story, Pete?
No, I don't. It's one of the joys of being a 60-year-old pre-Alzheimer's patient. This is brand new, so have at it.
So
sooner or later, I'll remember.
It could have been one of Jeff's stories, but it stuck with me that this wife was crying herself to sleep every night because the husband did what he did, and they had a double bed, but there wasn't enough room for the wife, and she just wasn't getting any room, and so she was getting a lack of sleep. She was getting more stressed out. She was getting more tearful every morning when she woke up from lack of sleep. She was tearful every night, knowing what she was going into. And the king-size bed wasn't just a solution. It was the end of her miserable marriage, because the only thing that made it miserable was that she was never sleeping, because she respected her husband so much, going out and earning for the family, that she let him get the sleep. So she was tearful, and selling that solution in, that can speak volumes, hearing that story to a potential customer, that it's not just a bed that they sold this woman. It was the ability to sleep well, to love her husband again, to not be tearful in the morning, to enjoy life, to appreciate everything she was able to do for the family. And that's a much bigger story as a punchline, as a why you should do business with us, is we change families. But entering a dialogue in a potential customer's mind, if you can say, we know what it's like when there's not enough room to sleep in. Do you need a king-size bed? Is that a good fit for you? Are you thinking maybe it's not, but perhaps it could be? You need the right sleep specialist who's going to look at the dimensions of the room and the requirements of that couple to determine whether a king-size bed will fit into that space and solve their problem. And if you sell on that story, that the wife is miserable and now she loves her husband again, and the kids are happier too, and now they're going to Disney World this summer to celebrate because everybody's kumbaya, you've caught the attention of a much more discerning customer than simply someone who needs a king-size bed. The story sells over and over again, especially if you can have the customer also share that story with the people that they know.
So I want to dig in on something that you just mentioned. that goes beyond entering into the conversation that's in the customer's mind. It speaks to the positive outcomes and the impact in their life. And it also speaks to emotion. So everybody who's in sales and everybody that owns a business who sells one way or another understands that you have to get to the emotion. Sooner or later, you have to get to the emotion. And if you don't do that and your testimonials don't accomplish that, you're missing a step or several steps. So one of the things, Simon, that you probably are the best at, and you used to make a joke about it, is you make people cry for all the right reasons.
Okay, and so actually, we've got a clip. Yeah, we got a clip, and we're going to do it in reverse order. But let's, Billy, let's play the Nick Marcos clip. Should be queued up, ready to go.
I think he leads by example. I think he doesn't just, he's not a person that just gives you lip service. I think he's a person that actually, walks the walk. I mean, he talks the talk and he walks the walk and he follows through, and you're going to get exactly what you see with him. So, to write his epitaph, I would say, if my son was half the man that he is, I'd have a damn good son.
Now you're making me cry.
Yeah, well, that's your sales partner, associate, Nick Marcos, who you've worked with for a very long time. And we were talking about
that's my business partner.
And why he works with you and why other people do business with you. And I think that was the first time I tried that question. And there's a few that I play around with. But you really want to dig into the heart of it. And you don't always want to do that up front. But if you can get someone to cry happy tears about why they choose to do business with somebody, it's not about why they choose to do business. It's about how they feel having done business with that person. The satisfaction, the removal of stress, the happier life that person has from doing business with that supplier. It's the result that's given to them. And you can't always have people shed tears of joy, but there's always the potential there with a lot of stories. And it takes stepping stones to work up to that. You can't just, what I do is I go and ask a series of questions. It takes time to interview someone like Nick in that way to get him to speak honestly about how if his son was half the man that you are, he'd have a damn good son. I mean, that doesn't happen in 3.5 minutes. And this is why the process and the time that you put into getting testimonials from people is so important. And we'll get into this, Pete, as we share some strategies with people. But you can see that Nick, I mean, how often does Nick cry about working with you, Pete, that you've seen? I wouldn't imagine Nick cries that often.
I've never seen him cry. That's why that makes me cry whenever I see it.
Yeah.
Simon, so, I got to interrupt you.
You got to interrupt me.
You know something? You produce my show, and you know that I interrupt my guests. So now you know how it feels. Yes. This show is available as a podcast on your favorite platform. Find links to my show on all the platforms by going to peteprimeau.com. Billy and Simon have me hooked up on every podcast platform. So thank you, Simon, for that. And we will continue our talk. So what we were talking about emotion. You showed Nick. So the next thing I wanted to get into, and we will answer the show, the question at the beginning of the show for you listeners out there. So, but this is really important, guys. It's really important. It's one of my pet peeves. And if you've listened to any of my shows, at least 80% of the time, I will sneak this in there because it is constantly on my mind. If you get a testimonial and you fail to model it, you fail to use it in all of your marketing, then you are cheating yourself horribly. And let me tell you something about a customer that saw a testimonial, or a referred customer that saw a referral or was referred. They're your best customers. And here's another thing. They know what's expected of them being a customer of yours. They know that they need to give a referral and they need to give a testimonial, which are two different things. But I wanted to mention that it's really, really important with all your testimonials that you find new and creative ways to show them to your customers. Because if you don't show them to your customers, they don't exist. So Simon, can you talk from your expert opinion, just give me the top 3 to 5 ways to model testimonials, to show them, to use them in your marketing to help drive more sales?
Okay, well, the simplest way to get testimonials is, if we forget for a moment the idea that customers just hand them to you, and I'm going to teach people how to make sure customers do hand them to you, but getting testimonials without asking your customer for a question, that's the easiest way to get them if you're going to do nothing about it. So when a customer gives you a testimonial without you asking for it, that's the easiest way to get it. But then what do you do with it? And the easiest way to get that testimonial is on a piece of paper, right? The customer hands it to you. When I get involved, I develop a form and process. And this is something that Jeff Giannakovo has really taken to heart. And we'll play the clip from Jeff in a moment. But once you've got a completed form with questions on there that you've written and then the answers from your customer, the simplest thing you could do is just scan that in and post it to your social media or post it to your website as a blog post, and then share the link to that post onto your social media. So if somebody clicks on that social media post, say on Facebook, it will drive that traffic to your website. So you might want to highlight it with a headline, which would catch somebody's attention and drive them to the website to read more about the story. Same thing goes with video. If you can have your customer repeat what they wrote down on the form, or they're saying really nice things to you just as they're leaving the store. Everyone's got a smartphone these days, it's got a camera built in. If you can get 30 seconds of a customer saying how delighted they are, that video could go on your social media, it could go on your website, it could go on your YouTube, you could transcribe it, you could write up an article to go alongside that. Everything that you do is content, and every testimonial that you get is the punchline for the story of what you just did in serving a customer. Behind every one-line testimonial is the whole story. And you can share as little or as much of the story as you're prepared to put the effort into. It's the story that sells. This is the best content that you'll ever have. If you make a sale every day and you can get the customer to say something nice once a day, then you have content every day of the week you could be dripping out onto your website, onto your social media. You could be advertising with it, and you could be doing what Jeff Giannakovo does with it, is actually lead with it in their advertising. When they've done newspaper wraps, it's been covered in testimonials and reviews. They have a book full of the testimonials and reviews. I haven't got one here right now, but they really lead with testimonials and reviews in their outbound and upfront marketing. And if you use that correctly in your social media, you can even get great SEO search results, bringing in more traffic to your website because you've got all those testimonials, those great stories, those rich keywords, longer tail for the town that you're serving or the particular product that you sold or the problem that you were solving. We talked about split heads with Kurt just a couple of weeks ago, Kurt Link from Posh and Lavish, if I remember all the guests correctly. And what's a split head? So if somebody's looking for split head in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and they find the story of Mr. and Mrs. Jones who bought it last week and it solved their problem, well, that's a AdWord you didn't pay for a click on. That's a Facebook ad that you didn't pay for a click on. You can hemorrhage content by making the most of the stories behind your testimonials. Take pictures, interview customers, explain what their problem was, explain the pain points, have them explain it. This is the point with the right questions. Have your customers explain all of that and why they would never go anywhere else and why they're sleeping it. a sound night because of what you supply to them. So it's really think about the content that you can get from any testimonial or any review, and the sky's the limit in terms of what you can do to spin that into quality content for your business. And almost every business in every sector is not doing this. So I can say flat out that by Jeff doing this, he's doing what nobody else in his county is doing. He's doing what almost nobody else in the entire country selling beds or furniture is doing.
And I don't know if it's 10, 11, or 12 or 13 years in a row that he's been voted the best place to buy a mattress in his area, but it's along those lines, and it's not an accident. And I want to stop and pause, and I'm going to repeat it in my simple language, because in Simon's eloquence, it might have gotten lost. What he's talking about is a single blog post and or video that revolves around the rest of the story, the rest of the testimonial story, and tell as little or as much as you want. But here's the thing. You don't think that the customer who that blog post is about is not going to like and comment that? Do you not think that everybody in her family that loves her and cares about her is not going to see that and like it and comment about it? Do you really believe that? Because this is genuine, powerful CEO strategies that Simon has brilliantly given to you for free. And here's just a little commercial. I got this book. You should get it too. Can you guys see that? If you can't, it's the Untapped Goldmine in your business. Discover testimonial secrets that will skyrocket your sales by none other than the testimonial guru, Simon Aronowitz. Guys, you're getting pure gold. And let me just put this in perspective. What you're getting here for absolutely free could so easily be $1,000 to $2,000 coaching call. It's not even funny. It's ridiculous. And please, please, please re-listen to this. If you're listening to this in your car, when you get home and you've got a blank piece of paper, listen to this again and write these ideas down. And more than that, implement them, because what you're getting here is absolutely solid gold. Buy the best. And the impact that Simon has had on Jeff's business, Simon will speak to. Do you guys have that clip?
Yeah, Pete, I just want to say, if people want to get a copy of the book, if they go to getsuperserial.com, there'll be a button there. They'll be able to buy the book on the website. Amazon is currently out of stock. It actually costs us money to supply a copy to Amazon. We lose every time. So we're not currently supplying Amazon. It's listed as out of stock at Amazon. But if you go to getsuperserial.com, GetSuperSerial.com, that's cereal as in breakfast cereal, getsuperserial.com. You can order a copy and we'll mail one out to you. So yeah, we have that clip of Jeff. Jeff is going to say in this clip just how big a difference it following my strategy and my approach has made to his store. And the key point here is to be very mindful of what you're doing and have the end goal in mind when you start. And I think that's what we take from what Jeff is saying. And we also get an idea of the big difference this makes. So roll VT, Bill.
What we've done with Simon, with focusing on testimonials, creating a system, and having it be part of our business and the steps in the business, just as there's steps in greeting a customer, just as there's steps in how you present your product, there's steps in testimonial, and in that system, we've attributed about $500,000 in revenue directly tied to testimonials as a result. And that's about 25% of our business. So the beautiful thing there is I'm not reinvesting marketing dollars in those assets, which advertising really isn't an asset until you have a really good ad that pulls. But that asset of testimonials, I get to reuse over and over and over again. So really that number gets to grow, the return on investment grows while the new spend kind of stays stagnant, which is great. And we love that.
That's
So
a
you
great
heard Jeff say
testimonial.
$500,000 added to his bottom line. That's 25% of his current turnover. Or look at it a different way. It increased his sales by 1/3, and that was recorded 5-6 years ago. That recording. So it's only got better since then. Yeah,
was that in Columbus, Ohio?
That was when you had your open house. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought so. I'm looking. I'm seeing those tables, and I'm like, I think I know when and where. That's awesome.
That was the teaching
Simon,
we were doing behind the scenes for you, Pete. So you had the dealers coming in to see the product. Go for it.
There's something, yeah, something about my open houses, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who don't do business with me, my open houses are different. There's education. I bring in speakers. Jeff spoke at that open house. So did Simon. And in addition to that, you can get a free massage at my open houses. How's that for being different? You
still owe me a massage.
The only open house in the industry where you get massages. Anyway,
you still owe me one. So
Simon, this is important. You were very busy. Simon, this is important. Jeff does a great job. So when I first went to Jeff's store, he had about that thick.
The binder.
A binder with testimonials in it. And then now I believe he's got 3 or 4, and they're even thicker, and they're tabulated. Now, I want you to talk about the importance of it as not only being part of your marketing system, but being part of your sales system and communicating with everybody in your company, from the girl or guy that answers the phone as a receptionist to the salesperson on the floor having interactions. How important it is for an owner of a business to communicate the importance of testimonials and sharing the goals that they're trying to achieve with the rest of the employees and teammates.
Well, if you've got a binder the way Jeff has, and I mean, the fact that he keeps adding to that, the fact he had it in the first place is truly awesome. He took the idea about classifying different types of testimonials, whether it's about a particular type of bed or whether it's about a particular physical ailment, but breaking it down into all these different subsections. So the testimonials that he has, they're objection busters, they're closers, but they're also that independent social proof. So you go into Jeff's store, and I mean, even if you like Jeff and you trust Jeff, anybody's going to be dubious of whether a salesperson is just trying to make a sale. And you don't have to take Jeff's word for it. If he says, well, you're arthritic, or you've got, you're arthritic in your left knee, and your wife is a little bit overweight, excuse me, so this is the kind of solution that you need. Well, we had Mr. and Mrs. Smith in here last week who had the exact same situation. He had an arthritic left knee. His wife was going to Weight Watchers. Let me pull out the testimonial of exactly what they said after sleeping for 72 hours on this same solution we're proposing to you. And so you can use it to, one, confirm that the solution is correct for the diagnosis, but also that the customer is happy. And it takes some doubt away from that potential customer in their mind, that they don't have to trust you as a salesperson. If you can show a story that, and you can genuinely trust that that's a true story from your customer. You see the signature, maybe there's a photograph there, maybe you've got a video there, and you can show that to the customer you're trying to sell to. Well, they don't have to take your word for it. They're taking a social proof of somebody who is saying, this worked for me, these guys solved the problem, you can trust them. And if they bought a week ago, then the price point must be right. That's the right price point for that solution. It takes all the pressure off of the salesperson. So as well as it confirming it's the right choice, it can be an objection buster, and it can also be a closer.
Simon, I'm fond of saying this. Testimonial can sell in a place that you as a salesman, until you reach a certain level of rapport and trust, cannot go. So
and this is where, Pete, the testimonials help you build that rapport, because instead of trying to sell to them, you get to talk to them immediately about other people. With we could do this for hours, because you'll cue me up and I can cue you up back. But we know the material, so this is easy. But you're right, is having a conversation about how does that affect you? How did it affect somebody else? That's the soft sell before you start showing them solutions that tie in with. If you want to sell well in furniture, and I know this from spending a lot of time, Pete, with you and with the dealers that you supply and that you've known over the years, you can't be a good salesperson unless you truly understand the problem that your customer has. If you're going to sell them the right sleep solution, you need to understand what their issue is. And also, if you really want to connect with them in a deeper way than just selling them the right sleep solution, is empathy and sympathy. And, I have to double check which one is the right one, but we'll just say both, which is if you can truly connect with them, that you understand how that makes them feel, what they're going through, you've got a deeper connection. You're lowering the barriers to selling versus the other store that says, well, we've got this product or we got this product. Which one do you want? When do you want it delivered? We can have it for you today.
I read a lot, and I listen to a lot of sales stuff and marketing, and I've watched so-called sales gurus go into great gyrations about empathy versus sympathy, and they make a good point. Empathy is understanding, but sympathy is the emotional connection. I believe you need both. So I think you said it correctly, Simon. And with that, I got to pay the bills, my man. So this podcast is paid for by none other than My Sell a Million book. And if you don't have it, you are really cheating yourself. Get it. You want hundreds and hundreds of ideas on how to build your business and a few good reminders about mindset and how you should be thinking. This is the book for you. Help you make more money. Anyway, for those of you who have the book, I'm on chapter 6 and page 13. Help them testify. Social proof that reaffirms your product or service does what you say it will do is mandatory these days. Just about everybody does some sort of research before they visit a restaurant for the first time, hire an electrician, or buy a car. This is why sites like Angie's List, Amazon Reviews, and Google Plus, remember Google Plus, are so popular these days. Create a system to ask for and use testimonials and reviews in your business. And I'm going to repeat that. Create a system to ask for and use testimonials and reviews in your business. It's not good enough to get a testimonial or a review once in a while. You have to get them every day in your business. Typically, the best time to do this is when the customer is happiest at the time of purchase, delivery, etc. Here are a few ideas to get you started. Create a short customer survey and have all customers fill out. Ask for a testimonial. Hand out a flyer during the sales process, asking them to give you a positive review online. Take a picture with your customer at the time of sale or when they receive their delivery. Better yet, get a short video. Do it all. Use social media to give online fans a way to leave their comments. Collect these testimonials and use them in all your marketing, offline and online. Create a testimonial book and leave copies around your office or store. That is thank you to Jeff Janakovo at Gardner's Mattress and More in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That idea came directly from him. The effort you put into this will come back to you exponentially. If for some reason the consumer is unwilling to give you your business a positive testimonial or review, this is a warning to you that some type of intervention is needed. You got to fix your process. That's a whole nother subject for another day. Be willing to change a process or even an employee if you're constantly uncovering the same complaint. Businesses, like people, are always changing for better or for worse. They do not stay the same. So commit to changing your business for the better. What say you? What say you, Simon?
Well, folks,
You are
you
all
can get your
throughout
copy
the
of
chapter.
Sell a Million by going to peteprimeau.com, and the button is right there on the website. You can hit that and it will take you through to buy a copy of Sell a Million by Pete Primeau. Go to peteprimeau.com. That's peteprimeau.com. Be sure to get your copy today. Producer.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Simon. So instead of him whispering in my ear like he normally does when he's producing the show, he just gets to bop me over the head with it. Thank you, brother. No frying pan today.
I appreciate you. We have earpieces. Both of us are on we're the earpiece crew today. So let's get into some real meat, which is the same. In some cases, what I'm going to talk about now applies to both reviews and testimonials. And the thing I want to start with, people want to, okay, what do I do differently from what I'm doing now? So I would say the first thing to really consider with all of this is start with the end goal in mind and work backwards. And you want to start with the end goal being getting a good testimonial or a good 5-star review, one that tells the story, one that is more in depth than they did a great job and you should hire them. That you want to start at actually having that in your hands, signed off and ready to use in your marketing, and work back from that. And so if you ask yourself, what do I need for that to happen? Then right before you get that handed to you, assuming if we start off with the end goal of the customer hands that to you automatically, then take one step back is you need a system and a process where the customer has to hand you a piece of paper with that completed. And amazingly, this is rocket science for a lot of businesses. Work with law firms, furniture stores, a bunch of other businesses, they all deal with paperwork. And I say to them, just add one more form. And Jeff got this, and he's tried different ways, including having the delivery guys present the customer with a form, leaving them with some time while they tidy up, vacuum, and take all the packaging away for the customer to fill in the form that should be handed back to the delivery driver before they leave the premises. With a law firm, personal injury lawyer, the client has to come into the office at the end of their case for their disbursement to sign a couple of bits of paperwork and pick up a check. And I said to the law firms, have a piece of paper that the client has to complete before you hand them their check. So you have this exchange of paperwork. You give me my completed feedback form, I'll give you the check that you've come in for. So if we start at the end with there's an exchange should happen, and it's providing the goods or services and getting some paper in response, then that's what you're aiming for to make it a 1-for-1. And the only thing that stops you using that piece of paper every time is a testimonial. This is where, as you were saying, Pete, if you don't get a testimonial, there's something wrong with your process. There is one caveat on that, which is sometimes people just don't want to be used in marketing. They don't want to sign the release. They'll give you the feedback. They just don't want it to be used in your marketing. You should be getting 100% feedback forms submitted, but I would expect in some cases they refuse to check the box saying, I released this for your marketing. But you should be getting feedback forms every single time from your client or your customer. And of course, if you're doing a great job like Jeff, 99 times out of 100, that should be a 10 out of 10 score, because there will be one time out of 100 that something goes wrong, but that's your opportunity to fix it and look even better, because I trust businesses more that make mistakes and own up to them than a business that says they never make a mistake, because every business does make a mistake. So if we start off with have the end goal in mind, then where do we start? And Pete, this is something that Jeff took on board. It's something that some law firms have begun to take on board. And I even saw it for myself with a business owner I was speaking to the other week in the UK, which is, well, here's what I'm going to flip it around and ask you, when it comes to the law firms that we've worked with, when do you think is the first time the law firm has said to that client, could we get a review, please? When do you think that first comes up in the conversation? So you've got someone who's been in a car accident and they sign up a lawyer and the lawyer handles the case. You've got the back and forth. You've got the paperwork. You've got the hospital visits. You might have depositions, court case, hearings, judge, all of that balagan that can go on for years. And eventually the client gets their settlement and the law firm says, come in and pick up your check. And they take their check and away they go happy. Where do you think most law firms start the conversation about, can we have a review?
They don't. And that's the biggest mistake. So the client has no idea that at the end of this process, they're going to be asked for a review.
You're right. Most of the time they say nothing. What they do, and we had Mark Quinn and Mark Kinsley on last week, and I think it was Kinsley was talking about the stores that use Podium. It could have been Quinn, I can't remember, but I think it was Kinsley. And there are all these things that you can do. I think it was actually, he was saying if you have these extra parts that people need to buy for the bed, put it on your website the same way you can communicate with people via Podium that they can buy online. So these law firms, they're spending hundreds of dollars on Podium. And the first time their client hears the word review is after they've driven down to the law office, they've signed the paperwork, they've taken their check, they've walked out the office with their check, got in their car, peeled out of the parking lot for hopefully the last time ever, never to see that law firm's office again, never to speak to anybody working in that law firm. They get home, and then 24 hours later, they get a text message from Podium saying, oh, would you like to leave us a review? And these law firms have lost. They wait until the client has peeled out of their parking lot, never to be seen again, to start that conversation. And a couple of them have started to get it. And Jeff Giannakovo gets this at Gardner's Mattress and More in Lancaster, PA. When do you start the conversation with your customer or client about getting a testimonial or a 5-star online review? First time you talk to them. You open up
actually
the whole
before,
thing with that.
If you're marketing with testimonials,
exactly,
and you're marketing with reviews, before they even darken your door, they already know. But you're right; it has to be repeated throughout the whole thing. There needs to be an expectation, and the best way to set that expectation, the best place to start is before you even start the relationship, by modeling them in all of your marketing and all of your advertising. So
and because if you want the client or customer to take 10-15 minutes out to write a form and be glad to fill in that form, it doesn't make sense to spring it on them when they got to go and pick up the kids from school, or they got to go home and cook dinner or run an errand or whatever it is. If you know that in 2 hours time or 6 weeks time or 2 years time, you want that customer to block out 15 or 30 minutes, tell them as soon as you can and explain to them it's part of your process, but you have to explain why there's value in that to the customer. And there's a way of doing it. Excuse me. So the first thing is that by warning them up front, you're letting them know this is our process and this is what we want you to do. And you're saying, you will have seen it in our marketing. This is why you came into our store, because you saw our testimonials and our 5-star reviews. And it's really important to us that we do this because it helps our customers like you find us, so that when someone you know or someone else has a problem like you, they're able to find us, and enables us to operate at a fair price, but most importantly enables people who need a solution to find us as that perfect solution. So it's not really about you and your business, it's about helping people like the customer. And the same way, referrals are not a thank you to the store. This is where most people make a mistake about referrals. People don't refer somebody to you.
Let me just stop right there, because it's too important to gloss over. So what Simon just said, before I so rudely interrupted him on his next point, was the reason for the customer to give you a testimonial or a review is to help keep the prices low for other customers. It's for them. It's a benefit for the consumer. And it's so important that we constantly look at the eyes of anything that we do in our business, whether it's selling, whether it's marketing, it doesn't matter, whatever it happens to be, through the eyes of the customer and what are the customer's motivation. Now, the customer's motivation in this case that we're appealing to is their sense of fairness and the fact that they don't want to pay anymore for a service than they have to. And to help other customers like them, we're asking for your cooperation to tell the truth about your experience, which hopefully is going to be a very positive experience. So now, Simon, you can go to point 2 because I just thought that was important.
Thank you. And we are asking just for truth. We're not asking there are ways you can put words in people's mouths, but we're not asking for anything that's untruthful. But referrals, by the same token, people don't refer you business to say thank you. They refer business to your store because you solved their problem, you did it well. And if they recommend someone else to your store, they know that person will be well served, which makes the person giving that referral, it makes them the problem solver. It makes them the kingpin. It makes them the Winston Wolfe from Pulp Fiction, the person you can call and know that you're going to get a good solution for your problem. Everybody likes to be a problem solver. And if all you have to do to be a problem solver is say, hey, go to Jeff Janakovo's store, he'll do what you need for the right price. You won't be disappointed. Don't even bother going anywhere else. You'll only be wasting your time. When that follows through exactly as described, that person is the problem solver, the kingpin, and you trust them. And so the testimonial and the review is the same thing. It's not about helping our store. It's about helping other people to find their store and realize that we're the right solution for them. So when you bring that up right at the beginning, it's a conversation opener, and it can reduce some of those barriers to selling because it helps you talk about how you really do just want to find the right solution. If we don't have it here today, we'd rather you walked away and saved your money rather than us try and sell you the wrong item, because we really do aim for that 5 out of 5 star review and treatment, and we want people to rave about us. So when it comes to what do you say to your customers, and just let me make this point, Pete, because I think we can riff on this. So when someone comes in and you start that sales process, what you want to do, first of all, is have an exchange of promises with them. This is what I call it, the exchange of promises, which is if we live up to our promise to do this, will you make a small promise in exchange? So if we take Jeff once again, his promise is that you're going to wake up happy. But of course, from the store, it's also you're going to get a good deal, and the delivery guys are going to do a good job, not going to make a mess. We're going to be on time. There's going to be no miscommunication. You're going to love us, and you're going to wake up happy and pain-free in the morning. So the exchange of promises with the customer is, when we fulfill that, we sold you well, we've delivered well, you've saved money, everything is good, you've gone to bed on it, you've woken up happy and pain-free. When we've delivered all of that, can we ask you for a small promise in exchange? Will you promise to write an honest online review for our business? Or will you promise to fill in an honest feedback form that we can use in our marketing? When we fulfill our promise to you, Mr. Customer, will you make that small promise in exchange? And when you exchange promises with them, that promise is stronger, Pete, than them simply saying, oh, I'd be happy to leave you a review. They've promised that. And Jeff's gone one step further, which is you have them check a box or sign the form during the sales process, because if you've read Robert Cialdini, Power of Persuasion, you'll know that getting someone to sign to that commitment is a lot stronger than them simply voicing vocally their promise to do it.
Yep, for sure. So, Billy, you got the wrong thing there. There you go. Let me take a moment to talk about Get Super Cereal, my production team, and sponsors of the show. Get Super Cereal makes it easy for me to do the show. Years ago, I started my podcast and I did everything. It was a lot of work. And the easiest part of this show is just showing up and doing the interview. The hard stuff, Billy and Simon do all of it. I just show up, I do the interview, and they do all the other things that I can't do or I don't want to do. I record my interview. They handle the tech and the marketing. They publish it. My show turns up on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other social media, and all the podcast platforms. If you want to start your own show, it's never been easier than with the guys at Get Super Cereal. Talk to them about how they can help get you started with your own show. Book a free call at Get Super Cereal. That's Super Cereal, GetSuper, CEREAL, as in cereal that you eat.com, getsupercereal.com. And that's my commercial for you guys. And thank you for all that you do, Simon. And thank you for being a sponsor of my show. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Pete. Thank you for letting us produce the show. I mean, Billy and I are always talking about how, while we're sitting there pushing buttons once we go for the recording, we're always learning something every week with every one of the guests that you have. So it's fun for us. It's not just, it is work. It's definitely work, but it's also, we learn something from it every week. I mean, imagine being the production team at Glazer Kennedy back in the day when you get a 3-day download. It would just be, or if you had the time to pay attention, you get a 3-day download of the most awesome stuff, and you're getting paid to be there versus paying to be there. So what I was saying was, you want to start off by exchanging promises with people. If you do that right from the outset, there's your bookend on one side, and then your bookend on the other side should be seeing as a definite happening what you want to get, whether it's a completed feedback form or having the customer post an online review. And then what you want to do is knock out all the challenges all the way down from start to finish, so that the only reviews or testimonials you're not getting are from people who just won't do it, come what may. So if we talk about reviews for a second, Pete, it's not always appropriate. So with the service that Jeff provides, getting the review from the customer before they've left the store might not be appropriate, because it's not going to tell the full story that they might be able to tell after a couple of nights of good night's sleep and having experienced the delivery. But let's say that they've looked everywhere for a furniture suite and they know exactly what they're going to get, and they got it from your store at the right price. They couldn't get the availability anywhere else. It might make sense to say to the customer, hey, you have one of those smartphones in your pocket? Because who doesn't? Would you mind pulling that out right now and posting a review? It's got that easy now, because times have changed. Google will take those online reviews posted from a smartphone. But what if you're not with that customer? Well, this is where you start to look at, what are the barriers? And I'll say it again, one of the big ones is getting someone to just kind of block out in their mind 15 minutes of time when they're going to do it. And we've had this with a lot of clients and a lot of associates very often, and parents probably know this one quite well as well, where if you ask somebody to do something, they always say they're going to get around to it. But if you ask them, do they have 15 minutes sometime this evening after 6 p.m. when they could get around to do it, then that's much more specific and they can generally commit. If you said to them, when this evening do you have 15 minutes that I can keep an eye on and see the result turn up in my inbox, they'll probably say, I'll get to that at 7 o'clock. And maybe they'll even set a reminder to do it at 7 o'clock. So if you want to get that review or that testimonial, it's ask people specifically to block out the time and ask them when they're going to commit to block out that time. The customer's sitting there with a feedback form, having done the delivery and they've slept on the bed for 72 hours, give them a call. You're sitting on that feedback form. We'd love to have it back. When do you think you might be able to complete it? Would you have 15 minutes this evening? I don't want to interfere too much, but when your favorite TV shows, what you watch this one at 7 and then the next one doesn't start till 8. So between 7:30 and 8, you've got a 30-minute window. Could you block out 15 minutes in that 30-minute window? We'd really appreciate it. And the more specific that you get, and Cialdini was on this one as well, the more likely you are to see that result come back to you. And the same thing goes with online reviews. And I've been through this. I've done it. I've eaten the medicine I'm going to dish out right now, which is if somebody doesn't understand how to log into Google, you can either let them not figure it out, or you can sit on the phone with them and talk them through it. If you know the process, you can say, click here, now go to this, enter this, now do that, click, swing your arm around you, click your heels together 3 times, now you're in. I've done tech support for a very long time. You have to know what they have to go through to do it. But sometimes even that doesn't work. And what I've done in the past to get online reviews posted is I've used screen sharing software. And now it's built into Zoom. So who doesn't have screen sharing software to connect into your customer's computer? You're not doing anything illegal, not doing anything without their permission, but you're playing tech support. And you can sit there and guide them and click for them until the box is up on their screen to post that review for your business. This is what I've done with businesses where they were prepared to do what it takes. Are you prepared to do what it takes to get a 5-star online review for your customer? because if you're prepared to do whatever it takes, you'll even remote connect into their computer and help them until you know it's done. That is how you guarantee the result. And if you take that approach with getting reviews and getting testimonials, and you understand every stepping stone from opening up the conversation at the beginning to seeing it as a done deal at the end, if you really explore every step of that and you knock out every objection, they don't know how to use a computer, I will connect into their computer. They don't know how to open up the remote connection, I will talk them through it until they're in. They still doesn't work, I will have them find a grandchild to get me into their computer. You do whatever it takes. And it's just a matter of time and cost. And so it's a numbers game, Pete. You know, there's going to be some that are so difficult that fall out the bottom. But either you're playing a game to aim for the 99% or give up and go home.
I can testify to this, guys. Simon does whatever it takes to get the testimonials. And listen, anybody that's sitting here, whether you're a salesperson or you're a business owner and you're going, this is too much, I don't have time, blah, 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 fill in your excuse. Just get a hold of Simon. He's not hard to get a hold of, and have Simon do it for you.
Well, there is that, but Pete, what does a marketing intern? What does a marketing intern cost right now? With an abundance of people who are not working, but might work part-time or at a low wage in the hope that it might turn into something better. How much can you get somebody who knows how to use a computer per hour under the age of 30? How much? $8.25? Okay. Can they make 60 phone calls in an hour if they do nothing else? Yes. Can they phone up 60 of the customers and say, hey, we did great service. Are you happy? Yeah. Okay. We sold you this last week. Would you be prepared to post an online review if we spent a few minutes helping you out? Yes. No. If this person knows how to use remote admin and they're smart, and like I say, if they're under the age of 30, probably know how to do that. How much is it really going to cost you? If you get 5 forms filled in and they're good and they're sent back to you, you could share those forms. How do you turn them into great content for your website? How much does it cost you to pay a marketing intern from the local college for 30 minutes to do a write-up from the form that you've had? Or 60 minutes, let them spend more time on it at $8.25 an hour. Stop accepting no for an answer if you want yes.
Guys, you just got a master's degree in how to get great testimonials, how to systemize it, and how to use them to get more business.
Pete, before we go, we've got to show them the power of great testimonials. If you ask the right question and almost everybody has the same answer, it makes you famous for whatever you want. So you can ask them the right question, and if they're all going to answer the same thing, you're famous for that. So Pete, what are you famous for? What are you most well known for with all the dealers that you supply? What is the one thing that they love most about you?
Usually the thing that they appreciate the most about me is my bluntness. Some people who are being kind to me will say I'm authentic, but I share ideas. I have been blessed throughout my 39-year career to be sit at the feet of some great retailers who are great marketers. And, that's what I've been so lucky. So here's a question for you who are out there listening. Are you looking to improve your sales and marketing in your business? Whether you're a sales professional or a business owner, you can get a weekly coaching session and a pep talk from me, a sales professional with 39 years of experience.
Pete has all that experience, whether it's on the sales floor or whether it's working for manufacturers and representing them wholesale. Pete knows what he's doing, guys. It's such a steal. You should grab this.
Overcome your sales sticking points, turbocharge your ability to find out what the customer really needs, close more sales, and raise your ticket values. I'm here to help you get better at what you do. Sign up for Pete Primeau's weekly playbook. Go to peteprimeau.com/playbook. That's peteprimeau.com/playbook. Do it now. Simon, what do there's one thing that I want to tie this whole thing up with, and I want you to go last. I want you to have the last word.
Well, don't forget we got that clip as well, Pete. I want to play that clip.
Okay. But I want to say this while I'm thinking of it, because I'm 60 years old and I'm a pre-Alzheimer's patient. I'm very forgetful, and this is important. So I'm going to say this to you. If you, as a business owner, implemented everything that we're talking about here today, okay, and you never got one testimonial, but your salespeople sold better and gave better service because they knew at the end of their selling process, they had to ask for a 5-star online review, that they had to ask for a referral, that they had to ask for a testimonial, and they started selling like it, it would be worth its weight in gold. If every person who has contact with your customer, whether it be a driver, a delivery man, or somebody who picks up the phone as a receptionist, if they knew at the end of the day that their goal was to get a 5-star online review and to get a referral and to get a positive testimonial from their customer, your business would benefit so much. You would make so much more money that if you never got one, it would be worth its weight in gold. But this stuff actually works. But it has the ability, if you embrace it, to transform who you are as a company. That's what we're talking about. So I'm sorry.
I completely agree, Pete. Well, imagine if there was some basic accountability, which was at the end of every ARC or at the end of every sales ticket, every salesperson had to account for either where the testimonial was or why the customer refused to provide one. That's simple.
Yeah.
Because if they're suddenly held to account with the approach that you just laid out, you bet your sales process would be better. So Pete, you were saying that you think that they really like you because sometimes, you're no BS and you give it to them straight. But I remember why the recurring thing from all of them, or why they really like doing business with you. Partly because I prepared the clip, but also right. we talked about this a few weeks ago, and I had to remind you that was in the clip. So Pete, Bill, roll VT.
Pete's Bill of Rights, which I'm holding here now, is great. I've never seen a furniture retail representative take the time to not only organize, but actually piece this together and bring it in and give it to me, myself, and my sales teams.
Yeah, I think the Do the Right Thing Bill of Rights is the way that they operate, Pete and Nick operate. I think it's a pretty good thing.
And not do them by accident. He's doing it on purpose.
A lot of the things that he has listed on here are the same as some of my company values and what I look for out of my sales team and office and warehouse and delivery personnel.
It's a tough question, but if I had to choose one, if you're making me choose one of my favorites for the Bill of Rights, I probably would say have fun and make money. That's probably would be my favorite, even though they're all very, very important. But I probably would choose that one because it's simple. And if you can't have fun where you work, then you shouldn't be working there, or you shouldn't be doing that for a living. And obviously you don't want to work for free. So we're in this business for one reason, and one reason only is to make money, and might as well have fun while doing it.
The right to have fun and make money is probably the best one on here.
It actually opens up your eyes to your customer to give them better service, treat them properly. And the one I like the most, and it's to have fun and make money. And that's why you don't see me with a coat and tie on, and you don't see palm trees in my store or anything like that, because I just do things by appointment, and I try to have the customer have fun. I never push to close, but we always ask that last question. And there was one on here that kind of stuck to me. It's the right to sell high quality products for people to keep for years to come, and then will make them come back. So I kind of like that one also.
I think the right to have fun and make money.
It's really simple. Number 2, right to have fun and make money, because that's what it's all about. You know, we're here a lot of hours, and that's what we're here to do, is make money and have fun doing it. And if you're not having fun, the money don't mean anything.
I think Pete and Nick under-promise and over-deliver on just about everything on here.
So what are you famous for, Pete?
Having fun and making money.
That's right. You're the rep. Money. You're the rep in the mattress and furniture industry who helps their retailers have fun while making money. How many other reps are known for that?
You're right. So full disclosure, I did not come up with this Bill of Rights by myself. I hired a really great marketer. And Simon, I think you might know this guy because it was you. So thank you, Simon.
Well, listen, Pete,
we're only able to do that. It was a collaboration, but Simon guided it very, very carefully. And I will say this. Simon traveled with me for a few days, getting those testimonials, and this kind of came after. Well, no, this actually came before that. We knew we were going to do this, and we actually developed it before, and it was really a testimonial to Simon's vision, that he knew exactly what we were going to do on this trip. He knew having this would be important. And I have to tell you, I was like a child being dragged to do chores on this one. He was after me. He was threatening to hit me in the head with a frying pan and every other thing that you can imagine. As a matter of fact, those conversations, the outtakes in those conversations would be hilarious. So Simon, thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.
But it's because of what you do with your retailers, Pete, that we were able to do that. When we went through what makes you different, what do you do that other reps don't do, and we started to come up with that list of what do you promise these guys that no one else will. You'll do the right thing, guarantee and Bill of Rights. This is what people doing business with you should expect doing business with you, that these other dealers don't make these promises. And as we started to put the list together, you were saying, we're up to a dozen here. I want to pare this down a bit. And I said, Pete, more amendments is better than less amendments. More rights is better than less rights. If you get one more right in the Bill of Rights in the US Constitution, you're happy. If they start chiseling away at your rights, you're less happy. So if we can make another right explicit, then so much the better. But what it did was it gave us a framework to be able to say to each one of your dealers, which one do you like the most and why? And if everybody says the same thing about your business, especially if you've developed those talking points yourself, if you've developed the question yourself, and so you end up with 500 different retail customers all saying the same punchline that you've written, then you are famous for that. Your store is famous for that. So if you own a furniture or a mattress store and you have competition, what is the message? What is the statement? What is it that you could have customers say about how you do business, about how your store does business, about how your employees do business, about how you treat your customers? What is it that if 500 people said it in their own way, but with the consistency 500 times, that would make everybody choose your store? That's why you want to focus on your process and what people are saying about you. So one bonus question is you develop your loaded questions for your questionnaire, for your survey, for the questions that you ask your customers. You don't just want to ask them if they had a nice time or if they slept well. You want to ask them, why is the first night's sleep that you had on the bed that we supplied the best night's sleep you had since you stopped sleeping in a crib, or something like that? And so whatever answer they have, Pete, is the best night's sleep they've had since sleeping in a crib because. And it doesn't matter what their answer is. They're all saying it's the best night's sleep they had since sleeping in a crib. Or how did our store find the best solution at the best price for you, better than any other business you've dealt with in the last 12 months? Now, that's a loaded question, and it's still very general, but they're going to find something to riff on that, where they're going to say, whatever it was I bought in the last 12 months, your store did a better job of looking after me and finding what I wanted at the right price. But there's that consistency of headline. And if you have every customer agree with that headline, even with their own answers, the consistency from every single one means you are what that says. And then you are famous for doing that. And just by having the chutzpah to go out and do this, even if other businesses also do that, they do the same thing that you do, but they don't get their customers to say it, then you get the first mover advantage. You are the business that staked out the fame claim for doing that, while nobody else had the biggest, the cojones to do that, and you did. It's really, did you claim that for yourself? And again, we got to that with Mark last week, is you want to be first in your category, and you can create your own category. And even better, if the category is the headline that makes it more than just the category. We are the only bed store, the only mattress store, the only furniture store that also delivers you a turkey at Christmas. Whatever it is, do you want to be in the category of one?
Yep, agreed. So Simon, somebody, business owner or a salesman, watch this podcast, watch this video show, and they want to enlist your help to really kind of do what I did, hire you and have you do testimonials for them. How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Okay, really simple. They can I would say the best thing to do is to book a call. Billy's pushing the buttons, but we generally jump on calls together because we think slightly differently. The two of us act better, but you can book a free 30-minute call with us at Get Super Serial. That's GETSUPCEREAL.com. There's a big button on the front of the website that says book a call. Click on that, book a call. We'll give you 30 minutes to talk about how we can help you implement some really successful testimonial and review getting strategies, along with the content creation strategy. We've got a great system for a whole bunch of businesses, including furniture and retail stores. We can lay out the whole system so that you're just, we would say in the UK, cooking on gas. So I'm not sure what the equivalent would be in the US, Pete, probably running on all 12 or all 16 cylinders, 16, 24, 48, I don't know. You have big engines. I will say that you might want to downsize your engine size. I understand gas prices might be going up in 2021. So in any case, if you go to getsuperserial.com, book a free call, and we'll take 30 minutes to talk to you about how we can help you totally turbocharge this. And the key point with our system is it puts your staff to work. It puts your employees to work, fulfilling the principles of the system. It's not just putting it all on your shoulders. It systemizes it so that they get with the program. They understand the choreography of when to present a piece of paper or when to say a particular thing, so that you end up with a stack of paper on your desk at the end of it all. And you say, these are all my testimonials. And I also know what I'm going to do with these now. That would be a complete change from where a lot of stores are at the moment, saying, I don't even know how to get them. That's what we can offer for people if they want to get in touch. And if they want to start off with reading, Pete, they can get a copy of the book, go to getsuperserial.com and buy a copy of the Untapped Goldmine in Your Business, Discover Testimonial Secrets That Will Skyrocket Your Sales. Yeah.
Right
there. I remember I got this one
copy.
too.
I read it. Yep. Hey, while you're at it, get this one too.
Yeah.
Simon, thank you so much. You over-delivered as always. And there's nothing more important in your business. It doesn't matter if you're in sales or any business. Getting testimonials, getting 5-star online reviews is the most important thing that you'll ever do. And who you become as a salesperson and who you become as a company is even more important when you're focused on delivering such great service that it's easier to get great testimonials and 5-star online reviews. And with that, I'm saying goodbye, because after an hour and 15 minutes, this 60-year-old is just wiped out. Simon, thank you so much. You are the best. We love you.
Thank you, Pete. Pleasure being a guest on the show for a change. It was a little bit unexpected, but
yeah, it's role reversal.
Yeah. So thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.